Thank you for meeting with us today, Terry.
Thank you.
To start off with, tell us about your journey so far and how you've evolved from clinician to business owner.
Yeah, sure. So I work at the entire Northern Bay region in Bermuda, Redcliffe and Clontarf for about 8 years or so. I graduated from University of Queensland in 2015, and since the beginning, my grandfather used to have a actual herbal store back in Taiwan. And from that point itself, it's kind of built into my own view of wanting to really have my own place. And after working in the region for 8 years or so, I believe it was time for me to open my own location. And yeah, since then, we just grew from zero to having over 2,000 patients since the beginning.
Yeah, that's great. And I was talking to the staff and they said that you're even actually booked out about 3 weeks in advance, or if not even more, which is always good.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I always think that, doing the best and just putting patients first in the treatment itself, and just essentially being quite transparent and take your time with making sure they understand fully what they need to get. That allow us to just kind of snowball the entire the bookings down the track. So when they really mentioned to me that, oh, you booked out for the next few weeks, I always kind of get surprised, saying how? I thought I have time next week.
Yeah. I'm really interested in the name, Platypus Dental. How did you come up with it?
So yeah, look, when we actually first opened the practice itself, I took about 3 months to come up with a name for the practice, and I didn't really want to be something quite generic itself, because myself, it's a bit of exotic, I suppose, the word for it, and we wanted a name that represent an Australian standard and something that people can relate to and be not to be fearful about. And my father himself, he had a lot of dad jokes. So one of the dad jokes we came up with was the name itself, saying, hey, platypus is an Australian animal. They don't have teeth, and you do implants. Yeah. Why don't you just put yourself, a Platypus Dental group, and then why don't you let another? Here we are. Yeah. And we also found out in the name itself, my surname is inbuilt into the name.
Yes.
And the water symbol itself is also with my father's belief in the feng shui and stuff. He's like, you need something more water-like, so therefore platypus fits everything.
Yeah, and just an interesting note with the platypus, it was actually one of the first creatures that when I think they brought it to the History Museum in London, and they actually, because it wasn't live, it was a taxidermy, they actually thought that it was a whole lot of different animals that they put together.
Oh, really?
Because just nothing like that ever existed. So it's quite unique as well.
Yeah, it is, yes.
What have you found to be the most difficult part of owning a business?
I think the most difficult part is, realizing that you have not just the responsibility of the patient's overall care anymore. Because in addition to that, you now have to make sure the staff well-being have to be looked after. You have to make sure the business itself grow. And there's always a saying that healthcare and business is a very hard mix. They're literally two opposite kind of forces.
Absolutely.
And to be able to kind of merge that together and to make it into something is challenging, but it's also quite rewarding to do it. And for us, we always have this kind of purpose-driven, ethical view of trying to say, what can we always do to make sure not just the patient gets the best care they have, making sure our staff have the opportunity to grow. And in the future, if the staff do actually go to another position in a career pathway, they know that what they learn in Platypus Dental can be utilized, and be proud to tell people that, hey, I used to work in Platypus Dental. Therefore, I actually recommend you to go there as well. And I think having both the patient and the staff to be able to tell us that we actually meant them to them, for me, it's quite important.
I think you hit it on the nail on the head. The two opposing forces, clinical care, which is putting the patient first, but then as a business owner, you also need to be able to put the business first.
Yes.
Without the business, you can't provide the clinical care.
Yes.
Yeah. What trade-offs have you had to make in your career so far, and how do you think that they've shaped you today?
So I have to be honest, before I opened my own practice itself, I had a bit more of my me time to do more of my hobbies and all that. So I was saying before, when I was playing, I used to play a lot of violin, do badminton with my friends. And now having a 3-year-old kid as well, and my daughter, the trade-off unfortunately has to be sacrificing a bit of my hobby time in order to make sure I spend more quality time with my family, and also for the business itself. And I actually believe that decision was pretty good, to be honest. Because now I kind of realize saying I can somehow blend the hobby time into the family time by playing violin with my daughter. And all that.
That's great.
And then even though I can't, play as much badminton anymore, and I can see that I'm not as fit as I used to be, but I try to fit in as much of the exercise into the actual working environment. So I actually now do most of my surgery standing up.
Okay.
And that allows me to be more active in between. And also I try to now drive less. So I actually walk to the train station, take a train to work and back home. And that allows me to also either rest on the train, so I come in refresh, and also be able to just think about and reflect saying, what have I done correctly? What could I do better in clinical senses whenever I'm on a train? So yeah, I think it worked out pretty good in the end.
I think the train or public transport can sometimes be underrated because it's this like time that you're not responsible for anything but getting from your point location. Just while we're on that topic then, how would you say to other business owners, how would you manage your burnout, or how do you avoid things like burnout, or how do you keep yourself functioning but still accountable to the business, your staff, your family, all these different moving parts?
I think it's also important for any business owner to always have something that's not directly related to their work. So if they have something, for example, a hobby is one, but be able to find a purpose, I suppose, in their life, and not just about their career itself. That will provide a drive for them in order for them to then say, I'm working to not just help build a business, but I'm working because I have a certain goal in life to achieve. Whether or not it can be a family-related thing, whether or not it's a personal thing, that's up to the business owner themselves. I have both the family-driven, also my personal goal thing. They kind of align together, but having that in front of you. And a good example is having my daughter's picture somewhere hidden in the clinic itself. So whenever I walk through the door, I always see her right there. So I'm like, that's why I'm working for it.
Yeah. So your tip would be to have your reminder of your goals.
Pretty much constantly, yeah.
So you were named Young Dentist of the Year. What do you think that award was really recognizing in you or your practice?
So first of all, as I say, I'm very grateful and humble to be able to get an award from the Australian Dental Award itself. To me, I think it represents that, I guess, working as a very ethical practice to the entire community itself. It shows us that what our vision of trying to evolutionize the actual standard of care in Australia is being recognized as a national level, and also for the colleagues that we also are on the same platform of, they also be able to say that what we're doing is can become a gold standard, or hoping to become a gold standard for everyone in the same industry to look at.
Yeah, that's great. So as this year's Young Dentist of the Year, I guess part of that is obviously, looking back at the generations. What's like an old school dentist tip or thing that you've been told that you now completely disregard?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So I have to say, when I first graduated from the University of Queensland, my professor told me that the golden age of dentistry is over. The reason why he says that is because he's saying like a lot of the corporate practices or the corporatization of practices itself is happening.
Yeah.
And we see it now with a lot of the corporate practice out there as well. And for him to kind of tell me saying like, practice ownership is something that's not, not something that can provide you a good overall financial outcome anymore, given the way the industry changes. That can dampen a lot of the young dentists to kind of work towards something, and they will become, unfortunately, they will think that they are working in the environment now, it's become numbers, the journey is true. And I defy that a little bit, to be honest, because for us to open a practice here, I always believe that as long as you be yourself and you shape the culture of your team, the patient who actually will recognize what you do will follow you. And what you actually charge a patient in terms of the cost and all that as well, it is important to make sure you make a balance between how much you think is actually worth as a value for the treatment, but also what's actually the best outcome for the patient. That needs to be a good balance overall. Yeah. So I will say, if I'm able to see my professor back then again, I will say, practice ownership is always all about the financial outcome. It's about the growth of a business is trying to grow, but also the people and the impact that you're actually affecting. And also, as long as you have your personal morale that's representing yourself within a business. As long as you have that, I think ownership these days is still viable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the corporate model has shown us that obviously if you're numbers driven and not always, but you might see the patient more as a number and an outcome, where the private practice I think is still thriving because the patient now wants to still make the choice of who they go to and why they go to that practice, to that practice or to that clinician. Like for example, that they probably saw the name Platypus Dental and it made them think, and you're well awarded and the practice has been around for a while. But on top of that, they would like the friendly staff, the clinicians themselves. And I think that often plays a much larger part to repeat business, where some corporates, the patients are there in, out, and it might be only a few dollars of a difference, but it's really around the outcomes.
Yes, indeed.
How do you approach delivering high quality patient care while also building a practice that is sustainable and ready for the future?
So we put a big emphasis in terms of having a purpose, okay? And in our practice here, we actually utilize the B Corp assessment model at the moment. And what the B Corp actually means that it's a benefit for all. So essentially, we have to utilize different materials and also make sure all our staff are well looked after in order for them to have an impact on not just their overall growth and well-being, but also to make sure that the patient overall also can get the best treatment outcome as well. So what we actually do in Platypus Dental here is not just using local-based businesses, such as all our materials made down in Victoria. We use a local lab over here. And the patient will then realize that as long as our material itself has been evidence-based, scientifically proven, and they know that it's being made with the support of local businesses, I think overall they will get the best outcome.
Yeah, people always want to support local, especially businesses that support the local. Yeah, especially when they're part of the community. What's one lesson you've learned so far that you think every young dentist needs to know in their career?
I think have patience, really. A lot of young dentists these days, even though I say that, even though I feel like I'm quite old, is that they always try to do a lot of things they learn from, either aspiring dentists, and sometimes I shouldn't say, but sometimes they do learn from other dentists on Facebook or like TikToks and all that, which is a bit scary, is that they think that doing a lot of these high-end work itself are quite simple, and they're trying to learn a lot of things very quickly without realizing that dentistry isn't as simple as ABC. Things can go wrong. Things can be very different. It's very complicated. And for them to kind of lose patience and just do so many things too early, some people can be quite financially driven for it, which I don't think is a good idea. It can become a hindrance of the overall growth and their education. So I will have to say for a lot of young dentists these days is that if they're able to just focus on saying the first 5 years of their career after graduation, is never think about money. Always think about what can I do to make sure that I can be better so that my patient in the future can get the best care from me. And over time, the patient will then put more trust in you so they can get more referral for other people to come and see you again.
And then the patient and the business benefit in return. Fantastic. What's next for you and Platypus Dental?
We've always had a big vision of trying to evolutionize the standard of Australian dental care itself, and for that to actually be to come in fruition, is pretty much continuing to do what we do best, put investment into our staff for the education and their actual long-term pathway. We're always trying to invest in the newest technology possible if we can, and that will translate to patients getting the best care as they can as well in the practice. For me personally, I have currently studying in my master in business administration in Melbourne University itself, and that allowed me to kind of create a better leadership role for the staff here, and for them to have confidence knowing that there's someone who actually can lead the group to a certain direction, and that also have that balance between business profit and also patient overall care. And I think that to me is my my next 2-3 year goal is to complete the MBA itself, so the patient then will have confidence knowing that we can provide a continuous the best care for them and for the community.
And what's next for Platypus Dental?
So I mentioned before saying about the B Corp assessment itself. So we are trying to, I administrate health practice, we are trying to become a B Corp themselves. So having that actual certification or certification cell out there is a symbol for not just the staff here, but also for patients out there to realize that our practice becomes a very sustainable and ethical business, that they can be quite, they can be feeling quite safe to come in for, and to know that we are building a practice that's more than just about dentistry, so that their own care, their family, the community, or even the environment itself are being looked after for, hopefully, for the rest of their life.
Thank you so much for your time today, Terry.
Thank you.
Congratulations again on being this year's Young Dentist. Yeah, we look forward to sharing your stories.
Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.